Hey guys, I'm back again and we're doing example 3, the last example of 7-6. And what I'm going to do is, hopefully you can start copying down the notes that you see here. This is page 297 of your hardcover book, 7-6, factoring trinomials. This time again, like example 2, this trinomial a is not 1. If you look at the trinomial a, the a term is a number in front of x squared. Over here, 3x squared minus 2x minus 8. You notice a equals 3. Whenever a is not 1, whenever there's no a there, we're going to have to do not only the x method to factor this out into two binomials, we're going to have to do the box method also. There's an extra step called the box method, like we did in example 2. So this is the last example we're going to do in factoring trinomials. And I'll give you a homework assignment at the end. I'll post that on Remind, the homework assignment. It's probably going to be on Pearson Realize, like usual. So that's something I'll post on Remind. But right now, I want you to copy these notes down. And this is it gets a little confusing, so make sure you maybe watch this video more than once to really understand what's going on. So we're going to factor 3x squared minus 2x minus 8 into two binomials. Step 1 on any trinomial is you look and see, is there a GCF you can factor out of these three terms first before we do x and box method. If we look at the numbers 3, 2, and 8. There is no GCF for 3, 2, and 8. There's no common factor of 3, 2, and 8 that we can factor out. Let's look at the variables then. X squared, x, and no variable at all. No, all three terms don't have a common variable. Therefore, there is no GCF. So I'm going to put none here. So step 1 is done for us. We can't do anything with step 1. Step 2 says x method. So x method, you draw an x, put a multiplication symbol on top, and then an addition symbol on the bottom. You identify what a, b, and c are. A is positive 3, b is negative 2, and c is negative 8. Now, a times c always goes on the top, and then b goes on the bottom. In example 1, you remember that I only put c on top. Well, not example 1, but in the last section, I only put c on top because a was 1. So that's why I didn't put a times c, because a was 1 then. Now a is equal to 3. It's always a times c. So it's a times c is 3 times negative 8. That's negative 24. The b term is negative 2. Negative 2. So a times c goes on top, b goes on the bottom. So what we need are the factors, multiplication, the factors of negative 24. What two numbers you multiply together to get negative 24. Doesn't that mean one has to be negative, one has to be positive? But at the same time, when you add those same two numbers, those same two factors, when you add them together, you're going to get negative 2. So this is guess and check. I made a little table here. Remember, you don't have to really make this table, but I made the table anyways just to list all the factors. So let's go ahead and do that. Remember, one has to be negative, one has to be positive. We'll figure out the negative and positive later on. Right now, let me list all the factor pairs. 1 times 24. 2 times 12 equals 24. 3 times 8 equals 24. I think 4 times 6. Any other ones? No, I think that's it. These are all the factor pairs that multiply to negative 24. One of them has to be negative, but I want to figure that out when I start adding them together. So let's add these numbers together and see if I can get negative 2 somehow. 1 plus 24. Either 1 has to be negative or 24 has to be negative, because when you multiply them, you have to get negative 24. That's not going to work either way. Done. 124 won't work. How about 2 plus 12? 1 being negative. Negative 2 plus 12, positive 10. That's not going to work. 2 plus negative 12, that's equal to negative 10. That's not going to work. So that's not going to work. 2 and 12 are not a good factor pair. So we'll X that out. And now let's look at 3 and 8. 3 plus 8. What if the 3 was negative? That'd still be negative 3 plus 8 would be positive 5. That's not going to work. How about if it's 3 plus negative 8? That's not going to work either. That's negative 5. 3 and 8 don't work. How about 4 and 6? 4 plus 6. One of them being negative, how do you get negative 2? Oh, look. The 6 has to be negative, right? Because 4 plus negative 6 equals negative 2. Then that means that over here, the 6 has to be negative, because 4 times negative 6 equals negative 24. These are your factor pairs. This is the factor pair that work. So over here, we're going to put 4 and -6. It doesn't matter which one you put where. The reason why we're not done yet is because, again, A is 3. It's not 1. If A was 1, the answer would have been x plus 4, x minus 6. But that's not the case. Since A is 3, we're going to have to go to the next step, the box method. Now that we have that, what we really found is the middle term of this box. Let me go ahead and draw the box. To complete this factoring, we have to draw the box now. This is, by the way, this is different than the example in the book. It's different than the method. The method in the book is a little confusing. I like the X and box method the best. All our teachers at Henry Ford do X and box method. So let's learn the X and box method. It works for all trinomials. They use different methods in the book. Please don't follow the book. Okay, what's the first term in this trinomial? 3x squared. Put it in the top. The last term is -8. Put it down here. The middle term is -2x. But there's two boxes. That's the reason why we did the X method, is to break up -2x into the two terms we need. And that's going to happen to be 4x plus -6x equals -2x. So the middle term goes here in the diagonal. And again, it doesn't matter which one you put where. 4x and -6x is the middle term. So if you look, 3x squared is the first term. These two together is the middle term. 4x plus -6x is -2x. And the last term goes here in the box. Remember, in example 2, what we have to do is we have to figure out, now we're going backwards, where before we were given the binomials, we put them on the top and the side, right? And we multiplied to get these terms. We multiplied the rows and columns to get these terms. Now we're going backwards. But the first thing you have to do, guys, is you have to find the GCF of the first row. The first row is 3x squared minus 6x. The GCF first of the, and again, don't worry about negatives. Always make it positive. 3 and 6, is there a GCF between 3 and 6? What's common to 3 and 6? And it's 3. 3 is the greatest common factor of 3 and 6. How about x squared and x? Is there a common factor? Yeah, it's x. 3x is the GCF of the first row. Now that I have the GCF of the first row, what I have to do is multiply backwards to figure out the remaining missing spaces. And then once I do that, I got my two binomials, and I'm done. So 3x times what number gives me 3x squared? Again, we're going backwards, or you can go this. You can do this. 3x squared divided by 3x equals x. You could do it that way if you want. But again, 3x times what gives me 3x squared? 3x times x is 3x squared. Now that I have this term, I can use it to find this missing term here. X times what number gives me 4x? Isn't that 4? 4 times x is 4x. See how we're doing that backwards now? Let's continue. We got one more to find. 3x times what gives me -6x? 3x times what gives me -6x? Again, or you can say it's -6x divided by 3x, and you get the answer is -2. Again, -2 times 3x is -6x. So there we go. To check and make sure this is correct, I'm going to use the last two numbers, multiply them together to make sure it's equal to the last box. And it does. 4 times -2 is -8. I'm done. Now that I'm done, all I got to do is write these two binomials in any order you want. This is 3x plus 4, because they're both positive. And this binomial is x minus 2, because that's -2. This is your answer. Now, you can check your answer simply by multiplying these together. As box method, here they are right here. Box method, multiply them, make sure 3x times x, 3x squared. 4 times x is 4x. 3x times -2 is -6x. And then 4 times -2 is -8. If you add all these boxes together, 3x squared, and you add these together, they're like terms, -2x minus 8. That worked. So the answer is 3x plus 4 times x minus 2. We factored this trinomial into these two binomials. What I'd like you to do now is try it. 3x plus 4 times x minus 2 is 3x squared. 4 times x is 4x. 3x squared divided by 3x, and you get the answer is -2. Again, -2 times 3x is -9x. 9x squared divided by 3x is -8. 8 times x is -2. 8 squared is -16. 16 times x is -24. 24 times x is -32. 32 times x is -32. 32 times x is -24. 24 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 times x example 3, A and B, page 161 of your workbook. Now, that's a softcover book. Let's do these two examples, and then when you're finished, double check the answer. Check and see if the answer is correct by just multiplying the binomials you get at the very end to make sure you end up with what you started with. Here's A and here's B. Thank you guys. Have a great one. I'll be sending the homework soon.